get started. So, I guess my first question, Wendell, is when you were toying around with the idea for your first feature film, what drew you to Douglas Street's story? Why did you choose to do a movie about him?
Well, you know, it was really because I saw immediately from the Detroit Free Press article that I read that it was a phenomenal acting role. That's what was number one with me. It would give me a chance to act. So that was number one. Then the fact that it also was so incisive in terms of our beloved country and its issues with race and class, that was also very intoxicating. But number one was a great acting role. Number two, a great statement about life in America.
When you approached him about the idea, was he receptive to it, or was it something he had to warm up to?
Yeah, he was very receptive, and he didn't require a lot of warming up. He liked the idea, and, you know, we told him, you know, that we would do our best to tell his story in his own words.
When you were writing the film, did Douglas Street have any, I guess, creative sway, any involvement in the writing process and pre-production, or even in production at all?
Yeah, Ryan, that's a good question, and I want you to know that I think that the answer to that question is yes, he had a lot of creative sway, mainly because the whole model for the film was, Doug, you tell us your story in your words, and we'll do our best to put it up there on screen. So we interviewed Doug for 3.5 years prior to starting shooting the film, and then all during the shooting and editing, we were still getting information from Doug so that the story, script, and the style of the film all came out of listening to Doug tell his story.
And I guess I have one more question before I'll turn it over to the audience. When you were securing funds for the film, trying to get investors to back it, was it hard to find people to put money in an unconventional black film? Did you face a lot of obstacles, and if so, what were some of the obstacles you faced?
Well, I've always said that raising the budget for CHAMELEON STREET with private investors was very much like scraping dried blood off of the sidewalk with a pencil. First of all, it took 3.5 years, and that was presenting to over 140 potential investors, and of course, 140 investors did not invest. I mean, we only got a fraction of those who actually put money into the project. So, you know, money is the main mountain when it comes to making the film. After the film is made, the main mountain is distribution.
And I remember when you and I talked on the phone, you were telling me that you had sent the script, I think, to a distributor. You remember that? It was some white dude in the Midwest or something, but do you remember what he told you? Do you remember that conversation? How he said it would never make it, or you would get blacklisted? Could you talk about that?
I remember it very well. And I could write a book about that conversation. And yet it's funny because I didn't take the guy's name. I don't know even the state that he was from, but I do remember he was white. I would say in his 40s or 50s. He was a distributor, and he had connections in Hollywood. I had sent the script out to many people to get their opinion, and many distributors. I did everything by the book. You know, our company did everything by the book. It was like a textbook independent film. And I got a phone call one afternoon, this is prior to the film being shot, from this distributor, who told me that if the film was ever made, and he doubted it would be made, but if it did get made, that I should think twice, because I would never work in Hollywood again, probably, and that the film did not adhere to the way blacks and black males in particular are supposed to be portrayed in mainstream cinema. Now, this was told to me at a time when, you know, we had already been working for 4 years to get the film made, and I had no intention of listening to somebody tell me, you know, you'll never work in this town again if you make Chameleon Street. But in retrospect, I find it very interesting that post-Chameleon Street, my life and career has been not, you know, you asked a question, Ryan, also about what did I feel at Sundance. At Sundance, when we won the Grand Jury Award, my main feeling was, well, I'm home free. Now Hollywood will open up, and now everything will open up, and all the struggle is over. I had no idea that the struggle was just about to begin. So, would you please call Tyler Perry and ask him if he can get me a job?
I don't think I'm going to do that anytime soon. But you should get a job. Does anybody have any questions? This young lady right here. You got a question? Okay. I guess my next question, Wendell, when, you know, since you wrote, acted it, directed it, how was it hard on set to kind of separate yourself from each role as the actor, as director, as writer?
That's a good question, Ryan, and I want you to know that I really did not play around with that. I was very, very regimented. There were many times when the director, Wendell, would take the actor, Wendell, into a quiet room and calm him down and talk to him. You know, I did not blend all that stuff together so that I had no idea what was going on, writing, directing, acting. It was all very regimented in my mind. This is a directing task, Wendell. You know, address it as a directing task. This is an acting task, Wendell. Direct it as an acting task. This is a writing issue. You know, all of that was very clear to me that they had to be addressed separately.
I think one of my most important questions, Wendell, would be if you had made the film now in 2011, even if you had shot it on digital instead of film, do you think that distributors would be more receptive to the idea behind Chameleon Street now that black cinema has gone a long way? Or do you think that it would still have the same response?
Well, you know, Ryan, I'll answer your question, but could I ask you, what do you think?
I don't know. Personally, I think yes. I think yes. But maybe I'm an optimist. I don't know.
Well, you know, I hope that I am too. But, you know, even tonight, I had Chameleon Street playing in my studio tonight. And, you know, I really am not quite sure how to answer your question, because frankly, you know, there is so much about Chameleon Street that when I made the film 20 years ago with the people that came together from Detroit and Flint and all the people who invested in it, none of us thought that we were making a radical freak of a film. We thought that we were making something that just was true. And now it's 2011. Now, we've got a black man in the president, see, so, you know, that is incredible. But, you know, the media that we all are so enamored with? Well, I don't know if Chameleon Street would be getting any different reaction in 2011 than it did in 1990. I don't know. Frankly, I think that since I am still, for example, struggling to get Chameleon Street screened on cable, on HBO, Stars, Encore, BET, anything, since I'm still fighting that battle, that kind of tells me that if it were made today, the battle lines are still there.
I don't know, this is probably a really weighty response, but why do you think that is? You know, why the negative response from, or the negative reaction from distributors, and, you know, why a movie like House Party, which was also in Sundance, I believe, in 1990, would go on and have such a huge success? Or, you know, I mean, what do you, I don't know, why? That's the only thing I could ask, I guess.
You know, I've got a short answer and a long answer, and I don't want to give the impression that I'm picking on Tyler Perry, because I'm not. However, I think it should be stated that Tyler Perry has got more support in the media than any black filmmaker in history, than any 6 black filmmakers in history. He is supported by the media in everything he does, more than Sidney Poitier, more than Melvin Van Peebles, more than John Singleton, certainly more than Wendell B. Harris Jr. So, you know, the short answer is, look at Medea, Meet the Browns, and look at Chameleon Street, and I think you've got an answer. The long answer has to do with the fact that the black male, the black female, the black child has been, since 1950, the most heavily censored and shaped and stereotyped image in the history of film. That is bar none. And in 2011, that is still very much the case. Chameleon Street, as that white distributor told me 22 years ago, does not adhere to the image that is promoted. There are certain avenues that you can walk down in the mainstream media if you're black, and then there are other avenues that are closed off. So that's kind of the long answer. And, you know, having said that, Brian, like you, I'm still an optimist, and I'm very ecstatic that the audience came there tonight to see the film. You know, I want to thank the audience for coming to the film and say that I can't see your faces. I can see the backs of your heads. But I want to thank you guys for showing, hello, hi. I want to thank you guys for showing up, and I love you very much. Hello, I see you. Hi there. And, you know, I really thank Heather and Ryan for showing the film. I frankly had no idea 20 years ago that I would still be fighting this good fight. But, you know, you don't really choose your battles. Some, you know, well, if you're born black in this country, your battles are kind of chosen for you.
What about me? I don't know. I'm like, I'm kidding. Does anyone have any questions before I ask my last question? Anybody? Nobody.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. You want to go?
Well, you can just for me. I'm just wondering, since Street was the epitome of an underground street,
we have a question from the audience. Basically, since Douglas Street was sort of an unreliable narrator, was it hard to get the facts from him? How much was fact? How much was fiction? I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question, and I can only answer it by saying that from the beginning, the premise of the film was to get Doug's story out of Doug's own lips. I can only tell you that if I sat each and every one of you down and asked you every question under the sun about your life for 3 years, put you on videotape, audio tape, had you write letters about your life, you would give me the answers that you would give me. They would be whatever answers they would be your story. They would probably contain half-truths, complete truths, slanted truths, and then of course, you know, there are sins of omission and commission. You can shape something by not speaking about something as well as speaking about it. And we did not go to Doug Street's mother or father. We didn't talk to his ex-wives or his ex-girlfriends. We didn't talk to his kindergarten teacher or his uncle. Nobody except Doug. And whatever is in the film, with 3 notable exceptions, whatever is in the film is totally from Doug. The exceptions have to do with the masquerade ball sequence. When Doug impersonated a foreign exchange student from Martinique, he did not use a French dialect. And Doug was not in love so much with French film, he was really in love with German film. And he never went to a masquerade ball. So those are the 3 things that were extrapolated by the filmmaker, myself. I tell you frankly that I didn't want to use a German dialect and have him go through a German impersonation, even though he loved German film. Because there is so much baggage with Germany that I thought it might be a little bit too much to have, Doug Street going around, Heiden, Roslein, Heiden. It just brings all these other connotations. So I made him French, thinking that the romantic aspect of the French language might soften a bit the actions.
We have another question from the audience. Do you think Doug's, I guess, in how he treats women, because I think he's sort of a blatant misogynist, do you think that hurt the reception of the film at all?
Well, I will say that the second review that we got from the Village Voice in 1990 was very negative because they called Doug Street a misogynist and a lout, L-O-U-T. I should say that Doug Street himself has said that he treats everybody the same, that, his actions have been as damaging to males as they have been to women. When you are constantly impersonating people, you end up hurting males and females. You end up hurting your family, your good friends. So I can't say that I necessarily think that the way he treats women has hurt the film's reception, but Doug himself would tell you now, in retrospect, that he thinks the way he has treated himself and other people has hurt his life.
I guess I just have one last question for you. I guess given the current state of black cinema, with this sort of, two-dimensional depictions and this sort of you know, Tyler Perry fanfare, do you think there'll ever be another black new wave similar to the one that was seen in the early 90s? Do you think that'll ever resurface again, or do you think it's a lost cause overall?
No, Ryan, it's not a lost cause. There is a black new wave every moment of the day. As we speak, there's a black new wave. I mean, what happened?
Heather was yelping.
Oh.
She agrees.
Well, you know, she's right, because, you know, this is the struggle that makes the wave. You know, it's like, I forget who it was, Frantz Fanon or somebody, who said that the moment a people are oppressed, they make themselves superior to their oppressor, because immediately that friction of being oppressed makes the agitation and the response overwhelmingly laser-like. And that response was there in the 90s, it's there now. There are all kinds of black filmmakers as we speak who are putting films together that are as bold as anything that happened in 1989, 90, and 91. And now, you know, the one thing that has really happened, and you know this, Ryan, you're a filmmaker, you know, the playing field has leveled because of the technology. You know, when we made Chameleon Street, 35mm was the way to go. You don't have to now put together a budget of $1 million and get a 35mm film crew together to make a feature film of broadcast quality. Now, the distribution, you know, that's still a monster to be conquered, but even that, even now as we speak, major corporations are dealing with how to actually cope with the internet and these, you know, transgender films, transmedia films, not transgender films, transmedia films. Defining what is going on in terms of motion picture production and distribution. So I hope that you, I mean, I know, Ryan, that you are not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. I mean, I love Chameleon Street, but I really want you guys to see my next film. And I want you to see Ryan's film. I want you to see Kari Jones's film. I want you to see Leah Horiuchi's film, Considering Democracy. I mean, there are so many amazing things going on cinematically that I am only thankful to be, you know, living in this day and age when Cinema 41 can show Chameleon Street. This girl is reaching for you right now in back of you, Ryan. She wants to talk to you.
Hey, I'd like to ask you what you think of the works of Godfrey Cheshire, because the delivery that you gave as the protagonist of this film was similar, I feel, in some respects.
Did you hear that, Wendell?
I heard her voice, but I couldn't differentiate between the consonants and the vowels.
Godfrey
Cheshire.
She wanted to know what you think of the works of Godfrey Cheshire?
Uh-huh.
Cheshire.
Gosh, I can't believe she brought him up. You know, that's quite amazing, because I read a review. In fact, I've only read one thing that he wrote, and it was back in 2003. It was a 6-page essay detailing the difference between analog and digital. And it was just an incredible article. I've got a copy of it. But you know, I read this thing, and at the end, I was actually weeping because he so eloquently put together what we are no longer going to be dealing with, you know, as we move into this digital world and this entire new way of putting together movies. What we're losing as we say goodbye to analog cinema and what we gain as we say hello to digital electronic cinema. You know, there's a big difference, and that's the only thing that I've read that he's written, but it was amazing. Ask her why she brought that up.
Just occurred to me.
It just occurred to her.
Is she like his wife or something?
No, actually, Wendell, we gotta go, man. We gotta run out of time. But before we leave, I just want to plug, you know, your DVD. We have it for sale. All proceeds go to the HNIC himself, Wendell B. Harris Jr. And also, you can find this movie on Amazon, iTunes, and Netflix. Can I give one last round of applause for Wendell B. Harris?